Imagine this. You are a 17th century king. You have a throne. You have an army. You have a navy. You have colonies. And you have a map of the world spread out before you. You look at it and decide the fate of entire countries. But there is one problem. The person who drew this map has never been there. In the 17th and 18th centuries, maps were very inaccurate. People did not know what the world really looked like. Many places had not been explored. Cartographers drew maps based on stories. A sailor might say, "I saw a large land there," and that was enough. A new island appeared on the map. Sometimes they were simply invented. Sometimes they copied other people's mistakes. But kings believed these maps. One of the most famous mistakes is California. For a long time, people thought California was an island. It was drawn separately from the mainland. On maps, it looked like a huge piece of land in the ocean. These maps were printed, sold, given to kings, and everyone believed it was true. But California was never an island. It was a peninsula. It was always connected to the mainland. But the mistake was repeated over and over again, year after year, for decades. In those days, maps were very important. Maps were used to divide land. Maps were used to build cities. Maps were used to send ships. The king would look at the map and say, "This is our territory," even if in reality it was not so. Sometimes there was a river on the map. But in reality, there was no river. Sometimes there was a city. But no one could find it. Sometimes the coastline was drawn incorrectly. But the decisions had already been made. Each country had its own maps. France showed one map. England showed another. Spain showed a third. And on each map, the borders were different. Each country said, "Here is the proof. This is our land." They argued. They fought. They signed treaties. Sometimes they even went to war. And all because of drawings on paper. Sometimes the king would see a convenient bay on the map. And he would say, "Send the ships there." People sailed across the ocean for months. But when they arrived, it turned out that there was no bay there. Or it was not like that at all. Or it did not exist at all. All because of a mistake on the map. Sometimes maps were drawn specifically to show one's own country as larger and a neighboring country as smaller. Borders were moved further away, and territories were enlarged. The king would look at such a map and think, "We are very powerful. We have a lot of land." The map became an instrument of power. The first maps were drawn by ancient Egyptians, Assyrians, and Greeks. Later, they were copied by the Romans, who used them to conquer new lands. The Romans also created the first maps of the world. The strangest thing about this whole story is this. The most powerful people in the world made decisions about the fate of continents, looking at a map that might have been wrong. They divided land they had never seen. They argued about rivers they did not know. They believed in islands that did not exist. Today, we can open a map on our phones and see the whole world. But back then, things were different. Maps were a mixture of rumors, guesswork, and fantasy. One mistake could change history. One fictional island could become a cause for dispute. And perhaps that is the real colonial cringe, when entire empires divided the world using an inaccurate map. If you like these strange, awkward, and truly absurd moments in colonial history, you've come to the right place. This is just the beginning. Because the 17th and 18th centuries were a time when people were discovering the world and constantly making mistakes. Subscribe to Colonial Cringe.